What is going on, Whisper Nation, and welcome to the News and Notes episode. It is December 3rd. We're going to be going through all of the recent updates, news, and nuggets from around the NFL, helping you get ready for this weekend slate of games, as well as going over Thursday night's game last night and answering all of your questions, trade, start, sit, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get to it. Let's get Johnny Hicks over here.
Right here.
What's up?
What's up, brother,
What's
man?
happening? How you doing?
We're great. I am in Tucson, Arizona, celebrating my father's 70th birthday. And I'm in his office right now, and I'm wearing my grandmother's hat. She was a diehard Bucks fan from back in the day. And I'm stoked to take her into this show with us right now, man.
I thought you were starting to become a Bucks fan. That's what I was thinking.
No, I got nothing. No. I got nothing negative to say over there, but my teams at the top are stable. How about you, man? How you doing?
Good. I'm doing fantastic, man. Missed you last night on the live stream, but you know, you were celebrating with your dad. We get it. Whisper Nation was great last night. Had a great time with FanDuel. We did a FanDuel lineup, and it was fun. Made exciting night last night, and excited for the show, man.
So we're going to jump into that Thursday night section now. And, you know, generally speaking, Cowboys beat the New Orleans Saints 27-17. A little bit of a lackluster performance there from Dak Prescott, 238 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Tony Pollard came in very efficiently, 7 carries, 71 yards, got that touchdown on the ground. Michael Gallup, called him a sneaky flex start coming in here, and he pulled in that touchdown over there. On the other side of the ball with New Orleans, Taysom Hill, 4 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. Decent-ish fantasy day.
Yeah. Oh, he pulled it out. He pulled it out fantasy-wise.
Yeah.
But, man, it was getting ugly there at the end.
101 yards for Taysom Hill on the ground. We knew that it was capable, but that was a surprising number. Good for him and the Saints in that way, but we'll see what it looks like moving forward with the injury news and whatnot. Mark Ingram there, 10 carries, 28 yards, not as efficient. Ty Montgomery got some action, still missing Alvin Kamara. Over on the receiving side, Deontay Harris pulling in the 1 touchdown through the air. And I know that you and Travi there were doing the Thursday, the watch party.
Yeah.
And got really close to coming in first on the FanDuel tournament.
Yeah, man. Super close. We still have the throw up the graphic from last night. This is our FanDuel lineup last night, Austin. We put Taysom Hill in that MVP spot. We got that 1.5x. We had Dak, we had CD, we had Tony Pollard, and Michael Gallup. And like you said, man, down to the final 3.5 minutes, 2.5 really. And then Harris had that 70-yard touchdown. And that was the thing that sealed it for us, dropped us down. We still took home some money. We still ended in the green. But still, it would have been nice to, first watch party, bring home the first place. But it was exciting. Video's up. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you go watch that because it was a lot of fun kicking in with Big Travis stuff. But we're excited moving forward. Also be joining us. We'll be getting in Austin in on the FanDuel action. So make sure you're joining us. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that bell. On Mondays and Thursdays, those will be the watch night parties. We'll be doing a lineup then, helping Whisper Nation out as well. But Austin, it was fun. Looking forward to having you on this week, man, and getting it. Maybe we could get that number 1.
Maybe we get that number 1, and we are so stoked to be having Whisper Nation jumping in here. Slim Reaper, what's good, man? Mr. Miyagi, Boston Scott, or Freeman of Sanders sits. We are going to be getting to all of the questions by the end of the show. And while we work through the list of news and notes from around the NFL, when we have a fantasy relevant question connected to the topic at hand, we're going to do our best to plug in that question at that point in time. You can also always hit us with a super chat and we'll go ahead and get that question answered right away. Johnny, though, just any other takes on the Thursday night game? We had Amari Cooper, caught both his targets, looked a little bit down. We know we were tempering expectations for him coming in. Tony Pollard already mentioned there. Ezekiel Elliott, it's Travis, I thought summed it up pretty well of Jerry Jones loves Ezekiel Elliott. It's going to keep him in there, but he's looking a little slow. Do you have any other takeaways that you saw last night, either on the Dallas side of the ball or on the New Orleans side of the ball? But we'll start with Dallas.
So for Dallas, again, the Zeke news. Yeah, Zeke didn't have the greatest game. Again, when you compare him and look at him to Tony Pollard, who is a different type of back, He looks much more explosive. Obviously, you're like, oh, get him in there, right? But again, it was a very difficult rush defense that the Saints have. They're very good up front. So we kind of expected that. We said temper expectations there. We also knew that Zeke was banged up. And so we advised playing both. We said, play Tony and play Zeke if you can. And then as far as Amari Cooper goes, we got word, it was last second, we got it a little bit earlier in the day from Ed Warner saying, hey, monitor Cooper. He'll probably be on a snap count because come back off of COVID. His lungs aren't there. And so originally, Austin, we did have Amari Cooper in that FanDuel lineup, and then we swapped him out for Michael Gallup, so it lucked out there. But I do think better days are ahead for Amari. He was limited in his snaps, he ended up getting some fantasy points. So if you did end up, playing him, you didn't see that news. He salvaged it. He didn't give you 0, which is nice. But I do think better days are ahead for Michael Gallup, for Amari Cooper, and we'll see where he goes off of that. But
I think everybody there is looking on the uptick, maybe with the exception of Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
But everybody else there, I'm feeling pretty good about. Gallup even has got a little bit of intrigue moving forward. CeeDee Lamb he's doing his thing. You love that. Amari Cooper, we hope his lungs get better. And Dak Prescott, it's going to be a little bit up and down because they're more of a balanced team, but I think you can feel pretty comfortable with him in your lineup moving forward. I did want to throw, dude, I went against the Dallas defense in 2 different leagues.
Did you really? Dude.
Yeah, it sucked.
We were talking about it last night. We're like, because we had a listener ask us Dallas D or the Eagles defense this weekend, and Eagles are against the Jets. So you're like, Jets, go Jets.
Easy logic.
And then of course Dallas, does what they do last night, puts up 17, and that doesn't look too good as of right now. But again, Dallas's D, man, looking good, especially when they get all those picks.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, that is the Thursday night breakdown. Whisper Nation, I hope that it worked in your favor. And if it didn't, let's get ready for Sunday. So moving on here to the Arizona Cardinals. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins can be a game-time decision for Week 13 against the Bears. How are you feeling about DeAndre Hopkins? Do you think he plays? Do you think he doesn't? I think if he's in, we're going to start him. We've seen him try to put himself in the lineup when he wasn't ready, and he plays well. So I don't think he's going to put himself out there unless he's ready to go. And I think the coaching staff is keen to this too. They know he's aggressive. They know he wants to get him in there, but they know they've got a deep playoff run planned up ahead. It seems like they've been cautious with him. How are you evaluating this situation? Do you start DeAndre Hopkins with no hesitations if he's in?
If he's playing, I don't start him with hesitation. I'm getting him in my lineup. A couple of things that I do know. Both Kyler and Hopkins are expected to play this week. That is what my sources are telling me. They're both expected to play despite being listed as doubt or a game time decision. I'm more confident right now in Kyler than I am at DeAndre for the simple fact, and this just came out a couple of hours ago, and it just maybe a little bit raises my hairs on whether or not he'll actually be it. But DeAndre Hopkins he wasn't seen at practice day to the public portion for the beat reporters and whatnot, which is a little concerning because
but is he usually? I thought DeAndre Hopkins is notoriously no practice.
Correct. He notoriously is known for that. However, this late, especially coming off of an injury, I believe he was at practice yesterday. So it is a little concerned that maybe he did tweak it a little bit in practice this week, expecting to play this week. Again, I do think that they both play, and I'm playing both of them. Because of what happened this morning, Kyler did practice today. I'm like 99.9% sure Kyler plays. I'm probably 85% sure that Hopkins plays. Last night, I was probably about 99% that Hopkins plays. So just, again, we'll monitor that. Join us Sunday morning, and we'll definitely let you know if he's in or out. I'll keep checking with my sources, but I do believe they ultimately both end up playing.
Big news. And I'm right there with you on the Kyler Murray prediction there. And it's, Kyler Murray was the #1 overall quarterback earlier on this season, averaging just 30 yards rushing on the ground. It's like his arm efficiency has been through the roof. He's been kicking ass that way. And so what I mean by that is in years past, a little bit of an ankle issue or an ailment would have concerned me more than it does right now because he's getting it done with his arm more so than with his legs. Obviously, when his legs, that opens up the pass for him. But I'm feeling really good about Kyler Murray as well. Johnny, someone we're not feeling so good about, and this is a little bit of old news. This came out at the end of November, but we just wanted to talk about it here. As Christian McCaffrey was placed on the injured reserve, ruling him out for the remainder of the season. Chuba Hubbard is going to be coming in. And also we've got Carolina Panthers quarterback Cam Newton is going to be remaining the team's starting quarterback according to Matt Rule. So we got Cam Newton, he's back and he's staying in, and Chuba Hubbard, though, is back as well. How are you looking at the Carolina Panthers offense moving into Sunday for fantasy purposes?
So Chuba, we talked about this on the matchup breakdown episode. If you didn't know that we put out a matchup breakdown episode on our podcast every week, we do that, help you through every single sit-start matchup possible. Or if you like to see our beautiful faces, you can find that video also on our Patreon. We talked about this, Austin, how Chuba has been a solid replacement for CMC. So if you have CMC and have Chuba, you throw him in. Obviously, you feel somewhat confident. He's a lower end RB2 when he plays. He gets the bulk of the work. He gets the heavy usage. So I do still think now, is he the Mike Davis? That's what we brought up. Is he the Mike Davis of last year? No, Mike Davis was almost, no one could be a 1-for-1 replacement for CMC, who's arguably the greatest fantasy football player we've seen. But when it comes to at least getting your lineup being a low-end RB1, Mike Davis was certainly doing that more often and frequently in this offense than Chuba has. But I still do think that Chuba is a lower-end RB2 with some upside if he gets in the end zone. And I just think it's funny, too, with like the Cam Newton stuff, how they're already like, bro, we're 2 weeks. Remember like 2 weeks ago? Cam Newton. And I felt he looked great. And then last week, just how 1 week can make you look. It's funny.
Well, that's how it's always been. I have that clip on Cam Newton where it's like, I'm a conscious observer of Cam Newton the last several seasons, and this is just what he does, man.
Yeah, this is
I don't know why we would expect him.
Honestly, this is the NFL. This is the NFL. That's the real thing. You tune into ESPN, and every other week it's, is this person all these great quarterbacks asking, are they done? It's like, no, come on. We know this is a week to week. We know matchups matter. They just don't want to tell people that. They don't want to tell people that.
Moving on to another mobile quarterback over in Chicago, Justin Fields. He's got some cracked ribs. He was limited on Wednesday, and despite the return to practice, though, Coach Matt Nagy said Andy Dalton received the starters reps earlier this week. It's possible they give him another game off as he heals. We've also got Cole Kmet groin not practicing, and Allen Robinson with a hamstring didn't practice earlier this week. You're a big fan of David Montgomery. The volume is still there. We'd hope to see that efficiency pick up and a couple of plays break his way. Outside of David Montgomery, Johnny, are you intrigued by any other options here from the Chicago Bears?
Just Mooney. Mooney's the other one that I'd be intrigued by. And then I'm definitely, coming down the stretch, I think it's important to talk about this. If you have Monty and, Herbert hasn't been seeing any usage, which is great for Monty. But this is the time now where I would start solidifying your bench and your roster by getting your handcuffs. We are at the point now, unless you're really, if you're scratch and clawing game by game to get into the playoffs, that's fine. We'll help you do that. But if you're lucky enough to be in a position where you don't have to do that, now is the time where you just start grabbing your handcuffs. It's not worth going and trying to grab these, dart throws, because now is when you just need to start solidifying your team and looking for those 3-game stretch. You just got to win.
That's a really good set of advice. Like, there is that different phase in the season when it kicks in, and you need to start preparing for yourself a little different. Stop taking some dart throws and start building a little bit of security so that you can handle some unforeseen attrition that it hits you with, as it can happen, right before the playoffs or in the playoffs. I will also add in on that, depending on your league, say it's a dynasty league, perhaps. If you're not in the playoffs, or even if you are, there are players that are worth taking a look at and saying, like, is this guy going to take a level up next year?
Can I get him? Can I get him cheap right now? Can I get him, or even, and this is a great point that you just brought up, is leaning a little bit. If you're out, like if you're in dynasty and you're out, or it's not looking like, you have the greatest potential to win. I love doing that, Austin, because right now you are in this kind of like weird zone where players are like, if you're out, you're looking towards your draft picks. So you can oftentimes get these players that maybe they just had a bad year, like a Jerry Jeudy. We were super hyped coming in to the season on him. And if you're in Dynasty, like going and trying to target Jerry Jeudy right now, perfect time
Mm.
because his value is so low, but it should go up and you could get a deal done now. Whereas if you wait till the end of the summer or end of the year to try to get that negotiation, start talking, then the price is probably going to go up. You're probably going to have to pay for more. So I love that idea as well, to start looking at some trades for the offseason. Think ahead if you can.
Especially Dynasty, that's a multidimensional type of fantasy setup. So consider all the options because you're going to be in it for a while. If you're lucky, every day is a gift. Tanner Brown, Slim Reaper, man, love the questions coming in. We're going to make sure we get to all of those by the end of the show. And then as we work through, if you have any questions related to the topic at hand, we're going to be plugging those ones in. We'll do our best there. But just keep these ones coming. Stay with us. Great to have you here. Hope your Friday is kicking ass. You know what? Melvin Gordon, man, looks like he's been kind of getting his ass kicked by this hip that he's dealing with, running back there for the Denver Broncos. It looks like Vic Fangio is saying he's 50-50 to play on Sunday night. Those odds do seem a little bit lower now, though, after he failed to practice at any point this week. We'd like Javonte Williams a lot more, but we talked about this before. I mean, if the Broncos beat the Chiefs, man, they're in first place, depending on what the Raiders and the Chargers do over there. But there's a chance for the Broncos to be number one in the AFC East with the tiebreaker over Kansas City. Melvin Gordon has been playing really well. And like, I've got Javonte Williams in Dynasty, so I'm super frustrated. I'm like, let's go, man. But he's been kicking ass.
About to break free this weekend. That's what's going to happen. If Melvin Gordon sits, expect this is what we talked about all offseason. We said Javonte's probably going to be that guy who is the Cam Akers of this year, where because of the workload and the situation of what we saw last year with LA, we had this explosive rookie that we really liked in Cam Akers, but look, the backfield was muddied in the beginning. Is it his? Is it not? Is he performing better? And to your point, Austin, Melvin Gordon is playing well, but like we joked last night, I got my hand up on my hip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. And it's like Melvin might dip out of this game. And if that's the case, because of that hip, then I'm definitely starting Javonte, and if he takes off, it's a good matchup, Austin. If he does do well, you might see where they do start to I mean, again, if they win this, and you talk about whole playoff. Right? Talking about playoff stretch and that run is a little bit different. If they do win this, then they probably would continue to bring Melvin along. But if this season starts to fall apart for him, I definitely could see them really starting to lean more on Javonte just to see exactly what they have. Like, do we need to re-sign Melvin for a little bit cheaper if we can? Or do we think that, hey, we draft Javonte, or we have Javonte now, maybe we get a running back in the 6th or 7th round next year, because that's what all the cool kids are doing nowadays, and we'll be set. So I definitely like what you're saying there, and I'm really excited to watch Javonte if he gets a full workload, just see what he could do.
I am too. I hope that happens. Even if he doesn't, though, I'm still going to be considering flexing Javonte Williams. He's been doing pretty well. And that 50-50 issue means that maybe we see Javonte Williams out carry and out touch. Gordon, again, doesn't happen that often. Whisper Nation, if you like what you're listening to and you haven't already subscribed, I would seriously considering doing it. You're going to be getting notified of all of that daily content coming your way, helping you get set up for the offseason. And it's also just a lot of fun kicking it with y'all. So we'd appreciate that. And if you enjoyed this video too, hit us with that thumbs up to allow us to grow the brand. It is greatly appreciated, y'all. Johnny, speaking of growing the brand, Jon Durst's not going to help the Vikings grow their brand this week going up against the Vikings. Swift is at least a week away. I think so we're sitting him. How much do you like Jamal Williams this weekend? Any other implications we should be considering from this?
So I really like, I would play Jamal Williams, especially if you need, there's 4 teams on a bye this week. Green Bay Packers. So you probably Aaron Jones or AJ Dillon. You got Tennessee on a bye. So you have Hilliard and Foreman, if you've been kind of using those running backs over the last few weeks. So we've got some bigger teams that are on, and Chubb, you got Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. We've got a lot of running backs this week that have been contributing to fantasy rosters that are on bye. So it might sound gross again to getting Jamal Williams, but we've seen him produce when he has been the guy. And in the beginning of the season, when he was getting, a bigger bulk of the carries there, he was producing. So I feel confident. And you talk about Minnesota, they're one of the best matchups, Austin, for the running back position. So I really like playing him this week. And a guy just to keep your eye open, just, just a little Jamar Jefferson. So he's the rookie running back that they drafted, and he's shown some explosiveness. He's been a little banged up. He did get a little bit of a couple of carries last game when Swift came out. He might, and I don't quote me on it, but he may take some of that DeAndre Swift workload. I don't expect it to be a lot, but I do think that.
And we wouldn't recommend, though, starting him. This might just be a temporary expectations for Jamal there, because it might not be as much of a take the whole workload.
Yes, and I do know that they do like Jameer Jefferson, so at the running back position. So it's just something to watch.
Moving on to the fantasy juggernaut, the Houston Texans. We got David Johnson, did not practice on Thursday. He's sick, non-COVID, it sounds like, but he's also got a thigh. There's a bug going around the Texas building, it seems. And we've also got Tyrod Taylor, who is going to remain the team starter as long as he's healthy. With the vacation there of Philip Lindsay, do you have any extra appeal on any of these Houston running backs or anybody outside of Brandon Cooks to consider?
This is if it's gonna be. It sound I okay. Here's don't. I'm not gonna say. Here's the thing. I know a lot of people are gonna ask if DJ sits. Do I go with Sexy Rexy Burkhead? I still wouldn't, even though the volume is there. Austin, I know Austin in our matchup show. Kudos to him. He brought up this amount of volume that these running backs are getting, but it's not producing anything. No. And then you're talking about their opponent is Minnesota, or excuse me, not Minnesota, but the Colts. And the Colts have one of the better run defenses in the league, run lines. So I don't want to start him at all. But
Moving on to another juggernaut, but with an actual running back, sarcasm aside, is James Robinson, running back there for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Got a heel issue. He's got a knee issue. He was sidelined for Thursday.
Don't we all, dude? I feel like we all have heel issues.
I know, right? Limited on Wednesday and then downgraded altogether. If he's absent, we expect that volume for Carlos Hyde to jump up. Are you starting him? Are you giving consideration to anybody else over there in Jacksonville?
I think it would just be Carlos. They'd like Carlos and trust him in the back. Let me ask you: Do you feel like, what's your gut hunch on this? Does Robinson sit? Do you think he sits?
There's a couple of points. There's a couple of things pointing in either direction. Like James Robinson I think he's proving himself as a real running back, but I think he still probably holds that chip on his shoulder of a undrafted player who then had a running back drafted in the first round there, and Travis Etienne. I think he's going to want to get out there, but I think he probably is leaning on the sitting side. Or I think the logic would point towards sitting him. You know, they don't have a ton to play for. They know what they have in him. They don't need to learn anything else. You know, maybe he just wants to play football though. Like it could just be one of those things too. They're not playing for anything down the road. Urban Meyer, I don't even know if he's playing for his own career in Jacksonville. Like, I don't even know if he wants it. So I think he probably
wants it.
I'm going to be tuning into the Sunday Live Lineup Show, Johnny, an hour and a half before kickoff here on the Fantasy Whispers YouTube channel, where you and Travis are going to be answering all of the questions. It's just straight question and answer. You know, so we're delaying on these questions. Freak Stomper 49, love having you in the channel here. We're going to be making sure we get to all of the questions by the end of the show after we get through all of the news and notes. But on Sunday, it's just straight up lineup questions that you jump into. And this is going to be a hot item because Carlos Hyde, for me, you know, I talk about the flex borderlines or the flex ranges, and I've got desperate, less than desperate, what the heck flex, and then sneaky flex. And Carlos Hyde is a less than desperate flex for me. Like it's just less desperate. I don't think he becomes sneaky. I don't think he becomes like a what the heck. It's kind of like the volume will be there. We'll see if he breaks one.
Yes,
I'm not banking a whole bunch on it.
That's
who I am banking a lot though on, Johnny, is the Kansas City Chiefs offense and their running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I was concerned by Williams's ascension or involvement, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire in that game before the bye came back. He dominated the carries more than 2-1. He is dealing with a little bit of a stomach flu, but he should be fine for week 13. Any concerns or anything to flag on this Kansas City Chiefs offense, or are we just hoping to see this uptick continue, start their studs, Kelsey, Hill, Patrick Mahomes, CEH?
Yep. Start your studs. That's where I'm rolling. We'll see if this gets worse over the next few days, but I would imagine he plays. Usually players that have like stomach issues usually end up gutting it out and playing. And like you said, he came and stepped back into that starting role, got a lot of the workload. and even scored a touchdown. So,
yeah. And, we talked a little bit earlier about the Denver Broncos, who the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be facing. The Chiefs are in first in that division, but if they lose this game, they're going to not be in first in this division, and Denver will have the tiebreaker over them. So they're going to want to win this game, and I think CEH comes out and plays well. You talk about they usually overcome these stomach issues. It's a nice little extra piece of adversity for him to overcome. Great moments come from great opportunities, and I think that's what CEH has. I might be exaggerating that a little bit. It's just a stomach bug, but it's like overcome it and you look like a bouse. So good for you there. Moving on, we're talking about bouses. Darren Waller, I would qualify him as a bouse at the tight end position, but he's not going to play in week 13. We're talking about the Las Vegas Raiders right now, who are going up against Washington. Waller's going to be out. Deshaun Jackson, though, did return to practice, and I know you've got a lot of feelings on Deshaun Jackson, but the dude comes back game 1, gets a touchdown for this team. And I've been so impressed with speed, man. Like, Deshaun Jackson needs to be teaching speed retention courses
I know
to the rest of the NFL. Like, it's absolutely...
He'd be better at that.
Maybe my dude caught a touchdown in his last game.
He did catch it. Like what? Here's what's right. Before yesterday's live, we were about to go live for the Monday night watch or the Thursday night stream, and then Travis and I talking, and he's like, "Damn it! I literally just wrote about Deshaun Jackson in my waiver wire column, and he's already injured. He's already not practicing after one game." And I just chuckle. I'm just like, that's who Deshaun is. Like, he's going to give you a game, and it's usually the first game with that team, and then he just doesn't do anything after that. Just that's who he is. But yeah, I mean, definitely we know that at least the Raiders like to target deep, and we know that Derek Carr is very accurate with the deep ball. So yeah, I do think that there's going to be potentially, depending on matchups, what the heck boomer bust play like Deshaun would be this week.
3 targets, 2 catches. Maybe he busts a 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Exactly. Tough to bank on. Yeah. Nice what the heck flex over there.
Yes, exactly.
This is a fantasy relevant one. Andrew Silva coming in. What's good, man? Great to have you here.
Good.
Rashad Bateman, Josh Reynolds, or your boy Deshaun Jackson, half-point PPR.
Oh, this one's not sexy at all. But in this case, I on the matchup breakdown show, Austin, I told Whisper Nation that Bateman would be someone I could drop, and that might surprise some people, but he's just not getting the volume that I liked or I thought that he could get.
I like how you said it too, Lamar Jackson. It's going to be tough to ask Lamar Jackson to support more than Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, and Rashad Bateman is not going to eat into Hollywood Brown or Mark Andrews' workload.
And not only that, but then you also look at the routes that Bateman's running. He's running the ones that are closer to the line of scrimmage, which makes it more difficult for him to kind of break and have a very solid production day. Now, with all that said, with me saying that, out of this group of 3, I would still go with Bateman because that's the one I trust the most. I trust the quarterback the most to get him at least 5 targets. Deshaun Jackson, like you said, he has the highest ceiling for sure. I would say Deshaun Jackson has the highest ceiling, but he also has the lowest floor of all 3 of these guys as well. So I would go with Bateman in this case.
I agree with that breakdown. Nice take here. AB, Scott Cobb, thanks for joining in here.
Yeah.
We're going to get into all the questions by the end of the episode after we've gotten through the news and notes from every single NFL team when they got a relevant piece of information, that is. So if you got a fantasy relevant one in the topic at hand, throw it our way and we'll get to it, or hit us with the super chat. You can ask us anything and we'll move that one to the front of the line. Last piece on the Raiders, John. We've got Josh Jacobs dealing with ankles, limited in Thursday's practice. A little bit of a new injury, just coming off a season-high 24 touches. He's played hurt all the time. I'm a little bit bummed for what this could do to his ceiling. I was just talking about how he's notoriously inconspicuous with his physicals. We know he's now dealing with a little bit of an ankle. Does this concern you to the point of you changing your starting lineup if Josh Jacobs is already in
it? As of this very second, no. Yeah. As of this very second, because like you said, he's dealt with a lot of injuries before and he's played. But we've also known that we've had it come down to Sunday morning and we get a message saying, "Hey, I'm not playing this week." And right. It's a bit of a surprise. And so in that case, it would be a pivot quickly over to Drake. Hopefully you have handcuffed Drake. If you haven't, and you have Josh,
Peyton Barber though.
But here's the thing: since Gruden left, it seems like they don't go with that now. It is like, all right, once they lean between Drake and Josh Jacobs, which makes a little bit more sense. But I do still, as of right this moment, I'm still playing Jacobs right now. I still feel confident in playing him. But again, if we hear that it's worse than we think, then I would sit him. But yeah, dude, this is disappointing. Josh Jacobs, man. He's got some
Injuries,
good matchups too. He's got some really good matchups. He's like a low key. He's almost like the Kenyon Drake of this year, where he's just like getting it done, but no one's really talking about him because he's basically producing at where you got him.
Yeah.
So it's like he's not terrible, but he's not great, and so people just don't talk about him. But he's been solid.
Yeah, he has been. I think that's a good breakdown. I hope that he's able to heal up and do some good work over there for the Raiders. Fingers crossed, and we'll be keeping an eye on that situation. Moving on to the Los Angeles Raiders, newly acquired wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. has got a hip issue. Picked it up last week. Had a nice day, but that one definitely soured it a bit. And his availability for Week 13 is up in the air, according to Ian Rappaport over on Twitter. Rappaport added that OBJ's hip injury is not considered a major issue, though it could sideline him this week against Jacksonville. We also talked about Van Jefferson and how he had like a nearly identical stat line to OBJ, both 98% snap share. Just one target difference, just a handful of yards difference. Both caught a tutty. It was like 16.6 to 16.8 fantasy points. This is definitely an uptick for Van Jefferson as far as I'm concerned. Any other thing you think that we should be keeping an eye on over there? We've also got Daryl Henderson did not practice on Thursday. He was out on Wednesday as well. He doesn't expect him to play, but temper expectations.
Temper expectations, yes, that is one. Also, the Jags are surprisingly a top 5 run defense. So that, but it's mostly because just everyone passes on them because it's so easy. So Van Jefferson becomes a very interesting play for me this week. I like playing Van Jefferson, especially if OBJ can't go. Then I really like Van Jefferson this week. So I do like playing him. But definitely OBJ, you want him in there if you have him because, again, it's the Jags and it only takes one and he can make your day. So hopefully OBJ goes if you have OBJ. But if I think Van Jefferson is a good play either way.
I think Van Jefferson is too. And if OBJ is out and if Daryl Henderson is limited, I think Van Jefferson is a smash spot. I mean, he's done well. We've seen him do this work. And this is such a pass heavy 3 wide receiver set team. I mean, 100% snap share for Cooper Kupp last week and 98% there for OBJ and Van Jefferson. Like they've always got 3 out there. But now, you know what I mean? Like they lost Robert Woods. They pick up OBJ. He might be out. Van Jefferson is going to be relied upon, especially if that running back game sits out a little bit or it's a little bit different.
And he's getting those Bobby Trees targets. That's the thing is he's getting he might not be, producing like Robert Woods or, as effective technically on the field as, because we talk about how much Robert Woods does, but he's getting the target. So that's all we care about as far as fantasy.
What do you think about Corey Dean's point here? I think Higbee gets the most boost if OBJ is out. What do you think?
So I do think Higbee is one of those, again, he's one of those tight ends where it's plug your nose and you hope he scores a touchdown. He's getting the metrics. Like the metrics are on par with some of the other, like Logan Thomas or some of these other Mike Gesicki, some of these other tight ends that are, go on these runs. His metrics are the same as far as target market share and routes ran and percent that he's on the field. So I do think against the Jags, there is some potential there that what the heck flex or what the heck tight end spot where Higbee could score a touchdown. And then you're looking at a decent day for a tight end.
Right on. Moving here. Yes. I keep bringing this point. It's kind of like a recent epiphany there that I had. You need to, if you want your tight end to be an answer for you, like Higbee's not going to be your problem. Most tight ends aren't your problem because you're not expecting them to be your solution. But if you do have a tight end that is an answer for you, like a real difference maker on your squad, you're just going to need to have a few boxes checked: physicality, really great physicals at that position, long, fast, things of that nature, limited competition behind him. But then the thing that's going to separate the goods from the greats and the Jags from the difference makers is an obsession from the quarterback with that player. And it's just not going to come from Matt Stafford over to Tyler Higbee. Like it could pop, but I'm not going to put any serious weight into that. He's a solid streaming option, just like so many other tight ends are.
Yeah.
Talking about solid streaming options, Devontae Parker with the Dolphins has had some good games. He's been in and out. I like to see Miami's uptick right now, and I'm wondering how that could continue with Devontae Parker returning to the lineup and dealing with a hamstring. He did return to practice this week. They've opened the return for him, the possibility for him to come. We don't know yet if he will, But I wanted to get your take on that, as well as, I don't think there's anything to really consider here with Philip Lindsay. I know he came in and got 12 carries last week, which seems like a lot, but 9 of those he handled once Miami took a commanding 27-10 lead. It's like he's going to take a little bit off the top there for Gaskins. Is it enough to make an impact for you?
No, not for as far as Philip Lindsay goes. I do want to monitor Devonta Parker because of how that could affect Waddle. We know that Waddle's been explosive over the last, realistically a lot of the season. And I'm not saying that completely goes away if Parker's in the lineup. I'm not saying that all of a sudden Waddle goes to being nothing, but it would be interesting to see what does the target share now look like for Waddle. I know I like the connection between him and Tua, but then you've also had a couple of games where Gesicki has been absent. And so like the whole thing is Waddle's kind of whole outlook for Miami has been pretty perfect and lined up for why he's been producing. And he's also talented. But as more and more of these wide receivers get healthy, we'll see when Will Fuller, if Will Fuller ever comes back, and then Parker. And then what does that have to do with the market share and the targets that Waddle sees? So that's the biggest thing I see here. But again, Waddle, until we see it, like I'm trusting him.
Yeah, we've called off on Waddle enough that I just don't think we're gonna be doing that very much anymore. No. I did want to tag in here Corey's follow-up point. I think he gets the boost. We touched on that. He says that before OBJ he was better. This is true, but then he wasn't. He returned down to earth, right? Like he started off the season doing pretty well, and then he kind of just slipped back into that Jag role. I don't know if he ever really got it going either. I'm looking at his stats here. He hasn't broken 69 yards nice all season long, and he's got 3 touchdowns on the year, which sounds a lot like just one of these back end tight end one-ish streamable options. Yeah. Really quickly here, do you like Higbee or the Waller replacement?
Ooh, this one's tough. I like the matchup I like the matchup that the Raiders have over the matchup, because actually the Jags are a top 7 defense or bottom 7 defense at giving up points to the tight end. So it's not a great matchup for Higbee, but again, with no OBJ there, I would expect them to use Higbee a little bit more. So I think the floor is safer with Higbee than it would be with going Foster Monroe.
Yeah. I'm not looking for that. Like it's not a 1-to-1 replacement at the tight end position. Like different tight ends have way different capabilities. And I expect Hunter Renfrow to get a bigger boost with Waller out. I would not be chasing tight end fill-ins. I think you got a lot more better options on your waiver wire. And I don't even know what your waiver wire looks
If you have,
like.
I'll tell you, if you have, Logan Thomas. Yeah. If you have Logan Thomas on your waiver wire, I would pick him up. He's got a great matchup this weekend against the Raiders, against the Raiders. And then moving forward, he's got one of the best schedules for tight end. So he would be a great replacement for Waller until Waller gets healthy.
Here's a kind of a decent question. I just kind of gauge our excitement or expectation level here for Van Jefferson. Let's just say OBJ's out. What stud receivers would you start Van Jefferson over if OBJ is out? Tyler Higbee or Van Jefferson?
Oh, I'm going Van Jefferson.
Van
over, Higbee.
Van Jefferson or Jamar Chase?
See, this one, I don't think I would get too cute with this one. I don't think I would start Jamar Chase over Van Jefferson, or I don't think I would start Van Jefferson over Jamar Chase. I just feel like that'd be getting too cute.
I'm not surprised at all if Van Jefferson outscores Jamar Chase. He's done it a handful of times as of late, but I agree. Like it's a,
and I mean the matchup would also dictate that like Van Jefferson has a better matchup than Chase as well. But again, it's just like I like Van Jefferson. I'm a huge fan of Van Jefferson, but I'm not a huge fan of going overly cute with some of these. Sometimes you just tend to do that. And I say that watching Van's going to have a monster day and Chase is going to do nothing, which is
Scott brought up.
See, in this case,
I'm going Van.
See, in this case, I would go Van. And you know me, and also I'm a big Jacoby fan. But in this case, I would go Van Jefferson. I think
last one on this, Van or Mike Evans. I was going to ask Chris Godwin. That was the last one I was going to pull up. What do you think about this?
So with AB out, I'm going Mike Evans over Van Jefferson.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. What about Chris Godwin?
No, I'm starting Chris Godwin over Van Jefferson.
Yeah. All right, I think we kind of figured our spot out on this one.
Yeah.
All right, moving over to the Minnesota Vikings. It's a bit of an old bit of news here, but we know that Dalvin Cook is going to miss a couple of weeks 13 and 14 at least. I just wanted to get your take now that a couple of days had passed on the Minnesota Vikings outlook this week. I know we're stoked about Madison. Is it just kind of like a one-for-one replacement here? Hopefully you got Madison, plug them in, start your studs, Thielen and Jefferson. Kirk Cousins you like as a streamer too.
There's only like 2 or 3 direct replacements that we have in fantasy football. Madison, Tony Pollard, or at least we think Tony Pollard would be a direct replacement. And actually, those might be basically the only 2 that we have. So I do think that Madison is a direct replacement. He's been actually producing very, very well when he is filling in for Cook. One thing to note, though, they don't use Madison as much in the passing game as they do with Dalvin. So do expect a little bit more of some other backup running backs in there to get a couple of passes. Don't be alarmed. It's not like they're going to change up, but Madison will be the guy.
Johnny, say don't be alarmed. I'm going to counter that. I'm going to say get alarmed right now because Steven Drake's just came in here.
Let's
hit
go,
us with a super chat. Y'all know what this means. We got to go ahead and hit him with a Ric Flair.
Woo!
Why isn't my GIF coming up, dog?
I hit it. That's why.
There we go. Woo! All right, we got him there. Coming back in. All right, I love that one. But now we got to answer the question. It might be Sony season. Also, should I hold Boston Scott or drop him to pick up Chase Edmonds half-point PPR? Johnny, what do you think?
Appreciate you, Steven. Yeah, so Steven jumped on last night, and so originally it was bad. So we said Sony, keep Boston and drop Sony for Chase. But after reading some other explanation on he's not looking to try to get in the playoffs. He doesn't need to do that. So in that case, he doesn't need to necessarily win this week, or he's projected to lose by a lot this week. So in that case, I am staying with Sony. And now with the Henderson news, it kind of helps. So I'm okay dropping Boston Scott for Chase Edmonds for the simple fact that, yes, will Boston Scott most likely lead the backfield touches this week? Maybe. I mean, and you've also got Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders' injury is not as bad as we thought as well. So Boston Scott's maybe a 1-week rental, whereas Chase Edmonds, I think, could really help you down the stretch, especially in a PPR. And then again, if Henderson is out, Sony is in. I also do like the fact that because Henderson is even banged up, this game script projects very well for the Rams. They need to win this game, or they're going to be really scrambling. So I do expect the Rams to get up heavy early and then rely on the run, which means that if Henderson is banged up, they could even pull him if they're up and just rely on Sony to, close out the game. So I even think that Sony is a what the heck, dart throw at the running back start this week because Henderson's a little banged up and the way game script could go. So yes, long story short, I would drop Boston Scott for Chase Edmonds. Austin, would you?
Yeah, I would too. Because Boston Scott to me just he's trying to get through a maze that has all these doors that keep closing in front of him. There is a path to relevancy. We saw him have a couple of games. I was promoted that one before it was the hot thing to talk about. But then Jordan Howard came in. He kicked ass. He did really well. He's banged up, but he could return. And I think if he does return, I think he's going to end up playing better than Boston Scott with the same amount of opportunities. If he's banged up, that will be different. But then Miles Sanders came back and he's doing well. And it's still the Eagles and it's Jalen Hurts. I see there is a world where Boston Scott could do it, but I just don't think it's not going to line up. The timing's going to be off. And I think that Edmonds, though, could be a nicer pickup there.
This is going to be wild, but there is a chance, don't quote me on this, but there is a chance that talk about one of those running backs that really leads people to, comes out of nowhere down the stretch and leads people to the fantasy championship. Miles Sanders, great schedule, getting the workload that we finally wanted and asked for, and he's being super efficient and effective with those. He's being underrated right now because that Eagles team isn't the sexiest, and they're kind of figuring it out as they go along, and Hurts is making some mistakes, and his wide receivers more so are making the mistakes. But I do think with that schedule, that defense, how they're playing right now, Sanders could be a guy that really, like, we'll be talking about a lot during the playoff stretch.
We know that this is possible for him in the last 2 games. There's 16 carries, 94 yards. That's 5.88 yards per carry. And then against
You
the
look at
Giants in
his,
week 12,
you look at his season
yards,
long.
over 7 yards a carry.
Dude, all season, I think his lowest game is like 4.5 yards per carry all season.
He had one garbage game against Kansas City in week 4, 7 carries, 13 yards. But other than that, the yards per carry, 4.93, 4.23, 13.5, 4.09, 6.255, 5.88, 7.11 for a season average of 5.2 yards per carry.
Right. That's why we were so upset in the beginning, screaming out like, why aren't you running the ball? Give him the ball.
I want to bring in this one piece here that Scott says, didn't Zimmer say they were going to pass the ball more? One of my favorite things that we've ever done as a part of the Fantasy Whispers was able to have former head coach Hugh Jackson, a part of the mock draft marathon back in July of this year. He joined us for an hour along with our boy Jay the Plug. And I got to ask Coach Hugh Jackson, how should we interpret coach speak? We have coaches assume the podium and they say, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that. We're going to pass more. We're going to run more, make comments on the other team's defense. Is this sincere? Is this all a distraction? How do I shake it? And he goes, it might be real, it might not be, but they will never take the microphone and share messages just to be transparent. They always have an ulterior motive. Maybe they want to motivate a player on their team. Maybe they want to throw off the defense. You just got to think about why they would be saying this, and they're not saying it to satiate our questions. They don't care about that. So I interpret everything through what Coach Hugh Jackson said in that light. I think it was spot on, and it's really helped me like navigate where the meat and where the bones are from this kind of messaging. It's usually bones.
And I mean, like, again, the 2 games we saw that Dalvin was out week 3 and week 5. Now, I understand not the greatest sample size on those 2 games because those are 2 very bad run defenses. But even in those 2 games, Madison saw 26 and 25 carries alone. And then you're not including where he saw 6 receiving receptions and then 7 receptions. So a total of, over 30 touches in both those games. Now, again, they're playing Detroit this week. So we kind of know what that kind of game script, 25 carries and 7 catches. And then even moving forward, though, down the stretch against Pittsburgh, not scared, against Chicago, and maybe against the Rams would be a little bit. Dalvin could be back by then. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about what Zimmer says right now. He's not
I am kind of worried about, though, man. The team we're going to be talking about next year, it's New York Football Giants. Party at the Crack House, man. There are so many exciting pieces here, but it is so sketch. It is so broken. And it's pretty alarming for me. We like Sterling Shepard. He's done great work when he's healthy. He's not healthy, though. Surprise, surprise. Listed as doubtful for week 13. Kadarius Toney has had some amazing plays this season. He's not going to have any, though, this week, most likely, as he's listed as doubtful, dealing with a quad injury. Daniel Jones, number 6 overall pick, got a neck injury that isn't considering season ending at the moment, but he could miss a few weeks. We know that Glennon's coming in. We said earlier this week that Saquon Barkley in redraft is probably a 3rd round, 4th round pick, maybe, where we're looking at right now. I mean, is there anybody that we like in New York this week?
No one we like in New York this week. Obviously, I'm probably, if Saquon,
you're going to play Saquon.
You're going to play Saquon still, despite the matchup. But not interested in anyone to play, but interested in stashes. Like, I'm fine dropping Toney at this point. I think we probably saw his best game. I don't need to try to keep swinging for that. I think future of Toney is very, very bright. But then looking at the other side, Kenny G is the guy that I also would be willing to hold on. I'm not playing him, but I would hold on to him for the fact that the first game that he saw with your boy as the OC over there, Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens targeted him. He had one of his better snap target shares of the entire season. And we do know that Freddie Kitchens does like to target his number 1 alpha wide receiver.
Yeah.
So you can expect that kind of thing. But again, if Danny Dimes ends up being, out for season, which there has been some speculation that it could be season ending, then it would be, I'm dropping all other than Saquon, because you have to. You're not going to drop Saquon But that'd be it. It will be really interesting, Austin. That conversation about where will Saquon go next year is going to be so interesting, because the only reason I say that is people watching this right now are probably they're gonna be like 4th round, 3rd round for Saquon. You're nuts. And initially that was my thought, was like, I don't think his name alone will allow him to get that far. However, we have to remember Derrick Henry was a 3rd and 4th rounder. And then he exploded, and ever since he's been, first rounder. Could be very interesting and very intriguing down that same path for Saquon.
On the other one too, like Josh Jacobs is another name. He was a back end first round pick, and then he's going in the 3rd, 4th round.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's not Saquon. Like he's the best in the world when he's doing their thing, but you need to go ahead and we'll see how it all shakes out. I'm starting him this week. I hope he does great. I hope he kicks ass and becomes all that he can be, because that will be really, really special and fun to watch. Moving on to the other team in New York, the Jets. Corey Davis has been kind of fun to watch, but he's got a groin issue. It's going to be a game time decision for week 13 against the Eagles. It's a crucial status to watch for Elijah Moore's outlook, since the rookie ran a route on a season-high 93% of the team's dropbacks without Davis in week 12. So, Johnny, I know you've been a big Elijah Moore supporter. Are you hoping to see Corey Davis out? And if it does, will that benefit Elijah Moore in the way we're talking about? And then also, what's your take on Corey Davis if he plays?
I don't like this matchup this week. I talked about that on the matchup breakdown. Philadelphia actually has been just lights out against the wide receivers. They're just second to only New England Patriots. New England Patriots have allowed only fewer fantasy points over the last month, Austin, to wide receivers. So I don't necessarily like I don't like to play Elijah Moore this week. However, the one thing I will say, he usually typically lines up around the slot, or they'll move him around. That does bode well, because if there is one place where you can technically target Philly, it would be the slot receiver there. So I do think that if you've been rolling with Elijah Moore to this point and you're like, I'm just going to stay in the flames, I feel that. I understand that. And I'm not going to try to argue against it. But I will say that I would most likely try to sit Elijah Moore. I'm personally sitting Elijah Moore this week for, like a Brandon Ayuk or something like that, with a better matchup. But I do like Elijah Moore as the Jets person moving forward, even if Corey Davis comes back.
I like that breakdown. Moving to the opposite side of the football for this matchup, the Jets are going up against the Eagles. Quarterback for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, has been dealing with an ankle issue, and according to Jeff McClain over on Twitter, he's questionable for week 13. Sirianni said it was unknown whether Hurts could suit up against the Jets on Sunday. Even if he does, Hurts' mobility will likely be affected. Are you excited all about Gardner Minshew? Are you tempering it? What are you doing about Jalen Hurts? What are you doing about Devonta Smith? We already talked about Miles Sanders, and we upgraded to full. We like that in the running back position. We spent a lot of time talking about the Eagles backfield, but let's talk about the other positions in the Eagles offense. Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, Gardner Minshew, maybe.
So this is what's so I think I know what the issue. I think I know what the problem is, Austin. I think I really do. I really think that Nick Sirianni does not like Hurts. Doesn't like him.
What about the shirt, bro? You don't think he does? Remember the shirt with the glasses?
Here's the problem. Yeah, I think it's a smoke show, like trying to get on Hurts' good side, because he, let's take the bus out. Let's take the really long 24-foot bus, yellow bus. Let's run over Hurts. And then, by the way, after we roll over him with this giant bus, let's put it in reverse and roll over again, see if he's still alive. And if he is, maybe we'll try to roll over him again. That's how I feel that Sirianni is dealing with Hurts. Because right now, and again, smoke screens and coach talk here. Oh, I don't know if Hurts is going to. Hurts already came out and was like, yo, my ankle's good. I'm good to roll. I'm going to play. And it was like,
could he be doing this? Could he be doing this like with what former coach Hugh Jackson said, of like trying just to throw off the Jets, make them consider.
I think Sirianni is trying to do that. But here's the thing, Sirianni, you're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling anyone. You're not that good of a coach. So I'm sorry.
I hope he gets better. I hope he gets better.
If you're Bill Belichick and you do this, okay. If you're Bruce Arians and you do that, Okay, I'll respect it. You've won enough. You've done enough in this league to where I would say I get what you're doing. It makes sense. You're throwing people off. Nick Sirianni's not throwing nobody off.
He's not
Nobody.
throwing anybody off, hasn't all season. We're going to go ahead and move on now from the Eagles. Play him, get him out there. Temper expectations. Yeah. It is a mobility issue. We'll
Big
see
game for
how
Smith. Big game for Smith. That's what I will say. Big game for Smith and Goddard if you have him.
No, Flacco is not much of an upgrade, says Corey. That is true. Eric Salamata coming in. You know, we touched on Javonte Williams before, or Elijah Moore, flex, full point PPR. I mean, Melvin Gordon, as Scott comes in and says Melvin Gordon's doubtful this week. Guys, that must be a new bit of information. I know he's 50-50, but an official doubtful tag would be new. It's a hip. We expect, you know, is he going to get his full workload or not? Factoring those bits of information in, Johnny. You said you're probably sitting Elijah Moore anyways. I'm thinking you're going to say Javonte Williams then in a full flex. Or in a flex.
I am. Yeah, in that case, I would, just because you look at what he's done over – I mean, even with splitting pure time and getting very limited usage, he's still putting up what a floor would probably, or more like what I could see potentially more ceiling be against Philadelphia, if that makes sense. So I just think that Javonte's floor, especially with Melvin Gordon, you know, either doubtful, 50-50, what I just presuming now, based on what we're this late in the week and what we're hearing, I'm just going to say I don't expect Melvin Gordon to play very much, if at all. I'm just going to say that with this news. So I do think Javonte in this matchup, great, especially in PPR. You're not worried either because Javonte has been getting, you know, at least 3 targets in all but one game since since week 3. So yeah, I'm fine with Javonte as PPR. I feel confident with that.
I'm flexing him in our dynasty league regardless, and I hope that he gets elevated workload, and Melvin Gordon being out or limited would certainly help that, you presume, in that spicy Logan, more spicy than you'd think it would have been a month ago. The Chiefs and the Broncos battle for number 1 in the division. Here we go. Moving over though to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know if I want to call him my boy, but like, dude, I just had such high hopes for Chase Claypool. I just love all the pieces in here. Just like strikes me as like this Mike Williams type. And again, like Mike Williams, like terribly inconsistent. He's got a toe. He's upgraded to full. He's got some really painful turf toe that he's been dealing with since week 10. You know, I like this. I like this moving forward more, but like what we said on the matchup breakdown show, right? Like Big Ben, I don't know how good his arm really is. Chase Claypool's over.
I'd say the turf toe is my least of those worries right now. I'll be honest with you.
Right?
It's like I'm not even worried about the turf toe. I'm worried about your quarterback getting you the ball. That's where I'm at. Like,
I'm not as concerned about Pat Freiermuth's outcome with Big Ben's noodly arm or whatever it is, or just not as good as it once was. I don't want to call him a noodle arm.
Are we going to pull it back? Oh, is he noodle arm 2.0 now? Yeah. I don't know if he's quite noodle arm. I mean, if you remember Peyton noodle arm, that was bad. I don't think it's quite that bad, but it's getting down there. It's like I don't know. I'll think of something like almost like a al dente pasta at this point, where it's like you're like, at least it's al dente pasta. You're like,
I like that one. Al dente arm over there. Pat Freiermuth though, he's in. I like him as a that tight end streamer with like even a little bit more upside because we've seen him be relied upon. Moving over to the Seattle Seahawks, where DK Metcalf said DK Metcalf should be getting the ball more, according to Shane Waldron, offensive coordinator there for the Seahawks. Quote, "We've got to get the guy the ball." 1 catch, 4 target outing last week against the football team. Great call on you, Johnny. We did that underdog bet slip, and we got the 68.5-yard over-under for Tyler Lockett. I was in support of the DK Metcalf over 2. You said, no, I like Lockett more. We went with that. You were spot on. Are you going to be? I want to know about your take now. You were so on top of it last time. Let's see if you can keep it going. What do you think about DK Metcalf this week, and any other things to consider?
Love the matchup coming in for DK. Talked about that on the matchup breakdown show, which once again you could get on our podcast or available if you are subscribed to the Patreon. Do that every single week. And talked about this week. I did like the matchup for DK over Tyler, and this just pairs. I think it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I do think DK is in a smash spot.
Dude, that's a real thing, man. Like at the wide receiver position, we talk about OBJ going back in the day. Like when they start squawking, like the ball, the ball.
And look at Brandon Ayuk. Like we really have it on the show, really dived in, and that's on us about what Brandon Ayuk is kind of doing over this second half. But it all started because he called out Kyle Shanahan, had an issue with his usage, wanted to be a breakout star, and then had a conversation. Look what he's doing. He's starting to get more targets and more snare. So this happens, and this is real. Like we gotta forget. You guys know me. I'm emotional. I'm an emotional guy. So we know that, hey, sometimes you get a little emotional, you say some things you don't mean, but then you have the discussion with your people, your family, you talk it out, you take your shirts off, you say, hey, you're just as ripped as I am. We're all here to do the same thing. Let's have some fun. Let's get me the ball. We'll do it. We got it. We'll make it happen. And that's what happens.
Oh shit, dude! I've got like a wasp in here. It's like a carpenter bee or a wasp.
Oh, that's gonna turn into wasp man over there, dude. Turn into wasp man.
I'm gonna maintain my professionalism on this and hope that this. Oh my god, this big ass.
Is it really close to you?
Wasp. I gotta get some protections in here. Just
get some protection.
I gotta get something to whack him with in case he tries to take me out.
That's
over
scary.
Here.
That's scary.
Yeah, he's a big guy too. All right, so we're going to keep moving on here through the, sorry for that distraction there. It's just like a very large buzzing, and then I saw a very big stinger on this thing next to you over here.
That's terrifying.
No, it's all good, man. Moving on, though, we've got, speaking of stingers, man, the Bucks are dealing with a little stinger of their own here with Antonio Brown. He's going to be out for 3 weeks. He did not, I don't know if he signed or he agreed to just not dispute the punishment. He's going to be out for 3 games. We don't. Yeah. Bruce Arians then came out and said his future with the team has not been decided. We're not going to touch right now on like the long-term aspects, but just your like initial thought here from his 3-game absence. Hopefully he comes back after that. But what does this news do then to Mike Evans, to Chris Godwin, to Gronkowski, possibly any other effects you see, and just how you stacking up the Tampa Bay offense this week, Johnny?
This one. Talking about, we do know Bruce Arians came out and was like, yo, we're not going to tolerate this stuff. Like, we have talent on this roster that you slip up, you're done. We're not doing this game. We're not playing it. And BA is known to do that. We'll see what ends up happening. There's some talk that maybe he does get. I mean, it's hard to say. Dude. Like, I mean, they haven't had him. So it's like, we'll see if he ends up getting dropped. I wouldn't drop him off your roster until we know for a fact. But if that does, if that happens, that's going to suck.
I'm reading this news bit here, and we knew a lot about the Antonio Brown transgressions and issues coming into this. Very well documented. I didn't know this, but I knew that the chef that he'd been working with was the one who spilled this news. I didn't know that allegedly it came though because Antonio Brown refused to pay him for his work.
Yeah, no, that's
the first time.
Yeah, no, that's what when we were talking about this yesterday before yesterday's show, just us through me, you, and Travis, and that's what I meant. Like that was why the whole thing was a little sketch in the beginning, is because, and whether we don't know what exactly happened, did he? But here's the things we do know: Antonio Brown has been accused before of not paying his people for services. It was reported that this chef was owed $10,000, which is an amount that was also similar to another person claiming he didn't pay him another, which is like, what's AB doing out here? Like, it's just like, oh, $10,000. That's your salary. $10,000. Anyway, so that's why it's a little sketch, because it was like, is he trying to just be like, yo, I want him and blackmail him into getting his money? Or was this legit? And so
I think it sounds totally legit. I think that Antonio Brown has a history of stiffing people, or getting to it when he feels like. Right. And dude, like if you ever get stiffed out 5 figures, man, like you're not just gonna roll over on that one. And then it's I got this piece of leverage on you. Like I'm gonna hurt you. I want to hurt you.
Well, it's like you think $10,000 is a lot to me and is gonna hurt me. How about I take your, because I bet AB makes way over $10K a game. Of course. So it's like, bro, I'll hit you where it hurts too, because $10,000 is a lot to me. So we'll again monitor the situation. Don't be surprised now though if AB does get cut, because then I wouldn't expect him to get re-signed anywhere. No one's going to take another option on him. He was barely getting options now. So we'll see.
And Corey Dean brings an important point. Brady vouched for him, and I think Brady did an excellent job of keeping this combustible material in line for a really long time, working with the stuff. But it's just like,
dude. It's like
Chickens
when
come home
you,
to roost. Is that the right expression?
dude, it's like when you have like a friend or a cousin and you're like, and you guys were in tough times and you have the ability, luckily, to rise above those tough times. And you're like, yo, I'm going to bring my friend or my cousin, I'm going to look out, right? You try to teach them. And then they just like, they end up, and it's just like, what do we do? You try to help them out, but at the end of the day, they're just going to end up, doing what they always do. And so, yeah, it's frustrating for AB.
Yeah, most definitely. We are now moving over to our last team, the Washington football team. Drop a little bit of information and discussion on these fantasy relevant pieces. But right after that, Whisper Nation, we're going to be going back up to the top of the comment list and getting through every single question that came our way. So if you got some more questions, who to start, sit, trade questions, what's your favorite type of Christmas ornament, whatever it might be, hit us with those in the chat. And we're going to be getting to them in just a second. Johnny, we're talking about the Washington football team and Curtis Samuel, man. He hasn't played a lot. He might play this week. He's questionable. He's been dealing with a groin since preseason. He's limited throughout the week and is expected to play, though. How much his reps increase remain to be seen after he logged 20 snaps in his first game since action in week 5. We like Logan Thomas. We like Terry McLaurin. Also worth noting, we've got J.D. McKissic out dealing with concussion. We like Antonio Gibson's insane volume he's gotten over the last 3 weeks, like over 24 carries, and did really good, looked really good too last week. But we also had running back Wendell Smallwood would play ahead of Jaret Patterson in the J.D. McKissic role. So we're going to fade on Wendell Smallwood. We're going to fade on Jaret Patterson. We like Gibson. We like Terry. We like Logan Thomas. What are you thinking about for Curtis Samuel and any other pieces in Washington?
I love Gibson. Touching on that real quick, I think he's also going to be talking about a wonderful, beautiful schedule. I think he's going to be a guy, especially with this injury, that really helps lead people down the stretch as well. We did a couple weeks ago, right before the trade deadline, we talked about Gibson, and I gave this caveat. I said on one sense, he's a buy low, and on another sense, he's a sell high. And Travis kind of gave me a little pushback on it. And I said, here's the thing. Here's the reality. He's got a great schedule. If he does come back from the bye and he's a little bit more healed than we thought he could get to, then they have a great schedule that lines up. He could actually lead people. So it's worth the gamble if you were in a spot to take that risk, because at that point, it's a free lotto ticket that could lead you. Whereas like I wasn't so sure on that. There's a gamble. So if you're losing and you needed those games, then you make that, right? This is what's interesting because of that schedule, because of what just happened with J.D. McKissic, them talking about Wendell Smallwood when Wendell Smallwood's been on the practice squad this whole time. And what's odd is they like Patterson, or not Patterson, but they like the backup running that back there. And he's been on the roster from the beginning, which is weird.
Wendell?
That now,
Wendell?
No, Patterson.
Okay, yeah, Jaret Patterson.
So Jaret Patterson has been, an active running back with them throughout the season. And so you would think that, hey, the rumors in the beginning when they drafted him was that J.D. McKissic is on his way out of this backfield because his contracts and he's an older running back, and that Patterson was supposed to be taking over that role in the future to pair with Gibson. But
I mean, you will say three targets on the entire season for Jaret Patterson.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that was the indication coming in, and now that's not the indication at all. And so it's interesting. It's like, what are you doing with Patterson then? What is
maybe
your goal?
That Peyton Barber role? Like they cut Peyton Barber out there. Maybe it's just an early down speller, like a second or third.
Yeah, it could be the direct handcuff for Gibson then. But either way, Gibson, I think, is going to have a monster workload. Even with this Smallwood news, I still think, we saw Gibson get the most targets last week, and I think that'll continue.
7.
Yeah, I think that'll continue.
All right, moving in now. We got all the way through another round of the news and notes.
Made it. Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Let's do that.
Go.
Now we're going to jump into some of these questions, Whisper Nation. Thanks for joining us too, man. It is fantastic. It is great to be spending this Friday afternoon with you. No lie on that, man. We absolutely love it. It's the best part of our week. And if you like what you're listening to right now, please hit our video right here with a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, y'all know what to do. And if you're new to the channel, just drop in a comment. Let us know who you are, man. We want to say what's up. And it is a community of human beings. And come as you are, man. You are welcome. Moving over here to Mr. Miyagi's question. Boston Scott or Devontae Freeman if Miles Sanders sits. I don't think he will, but if he does, half-point PPR.
I'm going Boston Scott.
I am too, man. Devontae Freeman is a desperate flex for me. He hasn't gotten a single red zone carry. Latavius Murray's going to be involved. Lamar Jackson's the best running back over there. And Jalen Hurts is there, but they're still getting half-back red zone carries in Philadelphia. That's not the case
and it's against the
Baltimore.
Against
Same, Boston Scott's popular here, man. Sonny Michel or Boston Scott, running back 2, PPR. Also, flex play one of these RBs, Josh Reynolds or the Muth.
I'm flexing the Muth, which sounds odd, but that's where I'm going. Great matchup. The other one I would play, if you're asking me right now and you had to make this lineup decision right this second, I would go with Boston Scott. If I am going with what I think is going to happen, I do think that I would probably go with Sony over Boston Scott because I do think Miles Sanders ends up playing. And then I do think that Henderson is a little bit limited. And so I do think Sony still gets a good amount of workload for that sense. However, Boston Scott is against the Jets. We know the Jets constantly give up, especially to even the second RBs in those backfields. It gives up over 10 fantasy points, especially in PPR. So I do think that Boston Scott has a safe floor either way, but I would like
Michel been doing better, man. I was such a fan of him coming in the season. First round pick, let's go. We finished the season last year with New England pretty well. I was like, let's make some action happen. And that's just, yeah, the volume could come. It's a decent offense, but yeah, I agree with you on those statements. We got a question here. Stick with the Los Angeles Rams, OBJ or Mike Williams?
This one, with the,
Williams banged up right now? I mean, he always is, but
yeah, he's always, he's fine. He's just, he has a really difficult matchup this week against Cincinnati. Cincinnati is temporary your expectation. So ideally, I'd like to play OBJ. If OBJ ends up playing and isn't, we don't get anything like that hip pointer is way worse than we expect. I'm rolling with OBJ in that matchup against the Jags. But we should hear before Sunday if OBJ is out. If OBJ is out, then I'm going with, obviously, Mike Williams.
Yeah, Tanner, try to tune into the live lineup show on Sunday morning, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. It's an hour and a half before our kickoff. We'll have all the information available, and we'll be jumping into all of these questions. So hope to see you there on Sunday.
Yeah.
Freak Stomper 49, flex Doyle or Slayton, Johnny?
See, and I would go Slayton, and no, I wouldn't go Slayton. Not with I would
Glennon.
I don't like either one of these guys. Freak Stomper, can you go a different route? Doyle, don't like the matchup at all. I don't want you to chase the points with Doyle. And then Slayton again with Glennon as your quarterback. Like there's
the only thing benefiting Slayton over here is we've got Tony out, we've got Shepard out. Darius Slayton had a 73% snap share last week, 4 targets, 3 catches, 40 yards. It's not great, but he should be involved. Glennon, oh man, this is a sticky one though. I don't want to chase the points.
I know, but thing is, Slayton's against Miami, and Miami has been decent or pretty solid actually against wide receivers over the last couple of weeks. So and with Glennon, man, that's just I honestly think I think it's still Slayton. I do think it's still Slayton. He has a higher upside, but I honestly think you can find someone on the waiver wire better than those two options.
I think you probably can too, but I like the upside in Slayton as well, and it's a low floor, but
yeah,
it's for both sides. AB Mooney or Bateman this week? I think I know where you're going, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm going with Mooney there.
Mooney, no doubt.
Yeah.
All right, moving over now. We got to Corey Dean's question. We got to.
Let me ask. Yeah. Do we say Mooney or Van Jefferson? When we did that name game? Did we say that one?
No,
that's a good one. What'd you do? Mooney or Van Jefferson?
Is OBJ out?
Let's say in this scenario, OBJ is.
If OBJ is in, I'm going to go Mooney. If he's out, I'm going Van Jefferson.
Okay, fair enough. I like that. Yeah. Okay.
Let's see here. Moving on to the next question from Whisper Nation. Zach Wilson kills Elijah's fantasy value. That was funny. We got to this one here. Javonte Williams or Elijah Moore. We both like Javonte Williams in this one. Eric's coming in also adding him. I have Goddard starting him in place of Waller and Devonta Smith filling in for Devontae Adams on bye.
Okay. I think you're fine, especially against the Jets. I think you're good. They're like giving up over 30 points.
ML, yo guys, what's up, ML? Still debating one of these this week. Galladay with Glennon, Josh Reynolds, Jamison Crowder, Juan Jennings. Need one. Need a guy that won't put up a 0, so I get the win this week.
Oh, it's nice when you only it's just you can't get a 0. That's kind of nice when you give those preferences.
Highest floor.
Honestly, I think Juwan Jennings has the highest floor. Sounds odd, but with Debo out, that is a prime. I don't expect Ayuk to get all the targets there. So I do think he's probably got, here's what I think he has the highest ceiling of any of these guys. Highest floor, though. Highest floor, I would say, is Josh Reynolds, as gross as that sounds.
I think Josh. I mean, he just came in 1 week flash coming. And these guys are all such just flashers.
I know. They're such.
What about Galladay? Is it not Galladay?
Yeah, I would go with Galladay actually.
Just one
tap, even with Glennon. Yeah, even with Glennon, we do know Glennon will hyper target like his best receiver. That's what he did with Allen Robinson. Like he'll do that. So yeah, I do think with it being said that you just can't get a 0, I would go with Galladay because I do think Galladay he won't get a 0.
Yeah, I think that
with Kitchens calling.
What's up, Gus? Good
what
to
up,
have
Gus?
You with us, man. Yeah, his Gordon doubtful. My Javonte Williams projection went up. I like that too. Starting him in our dynasty league, we'd love to see that.
Dude, we love it when our projections go up. I love it.
I know, right?
Because it's true. Like you look at it and you're like, oh, my projection just went up. Yeah, like even though it means nothing, we know it's not even accurate. But yeah,
going to bench Montgomery for Javonte Williams.
Huh?
David Montgomery, Javonte Williams.
No, I'm not benching Monty for Javonte.
Really?
Monty has against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Dude, the Cardinals are just getting torched. That's like that's
what happens if the Cardinals go up 2 scores real fast.
Monty's still gonna get usage.
You don't think Javonte Williams is gonna get usage? I would take
Cardinals are one of the best matchups for running backs. I don't care who you are.
I understand.
I do expect them to be down in this game, but again, well, 2 things. Here's 2. Bears know that in order to stay in this game, they need to run the ball. They can't give it back to this offense. So they're going to run the ball a lot in this game, which bodes well for them because Arizona is god-awful at guarding the run. So that is their game script coming in. That's going to be the Bears' idea is, hey,
I think the logic does point. I think the Montgomery logic is stronger. Like they both have very similar things working for them. David Montgomery is a very good running back. Javonte Williams just has a little bit of that mystery box appeal still, but they're both like kind of lower volume offenses that these backs should be involved in regardless of game script. And I'm not surprised if Javonte Williams outdoes Montgomery. I think there's actually a decent chance of that, but I think the logic does point to Montgomery being the better start this week with what we know right now.
Yeah, I would go with because here's the thing, Monty's still going to get the passing work. Like Cohen's not back, and Williams is Daryl Williams is.
Yeah, Khalil Herbert hasn't been involved. So yeah, I think there's more opportunity. I think the offense is worse, but like it's still they might just lean on him also with Allen Robinson being kind of sketchy. So yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Javonte Williams, keep an eye on that one too.
But, I would try to find a way to get both these guys in your lineup if you could.
Yeah, you might be sitting in a good problem here.
Maybe you started Tony and he's like, I only have one other running
wants to know, with Metcalf predicted for a bigger game role, should I bench Lockett and give Judy a shot?
No, I don't like Judy's matchup this week at all. He's just, and the other thing is, Judy doesn't have the greatest matchup. Judy's target share also so up in the air. I mean, I know that on paper it looks like a great matchup. Kansas City, like they were giving up a lot, but actually over the last month they're actually now a bottom 12 pass defense against wide receiver or matchup against wide receivers. And so it's not as prime as it was before. I actually, and Jerry Jeudy, again, we thought his target share was actually pretty solid, or going to be, because he played in the slot. And we know Teddy likes to, do that when he's targeting players, is go to the slot. And it just, like, even his target share, he went down to 10% last week, Austin. So it was just like, well, there goes his floor. So I think I would still roll with Metcalf and Lockett.
Yeah, I think you're right. We've got Eric Salana asking, he's got Aaron Rodgers on bye. Me too, man. Is it cool to drop Daryl Williams for another quarterback?
If you have to stream one, then yeah. Barring
injury, are you starting Daryl Williams?
Yeah, I will tell you, I am starting Daryl in because I'm desperate. I have a bunch of people on. I have no running back, so and he's the only guy. So, but I will say I was very close to contemplating dropping him myself. But again, he's one of those running back handcuffs that I do think it's important to have coming down the stretch. But again, if he did great, yeah, he was an RB2. So that's the thing, is like CH coming off an injury. So
he got it done.
Yeah, he got it done for you. So Daryl Williams is not necessarily someone I'm looking to trade or to drop right now if I can help it, because we do know what he is when he gets the opportunity. But I do understand if you're trying to go for when you need to drop someone, that's your only option, then yeah, I think it's fine.
All right. And you know what that is, Johnny?
What is it, Austin? That was the last question. We made it.
That was the last question, man. And it has been amazing to work with all y'all here in Whisper Nation to get through this episode. Been a blast. If you liked what you've been listening to, consider hitting this video with the thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, man, we would be greatly appreciative if you went ahead and did that. Corey D, man, it was great to have you with us. Everybody was great to have you with us. My goodness. Eric, Gus, Freak Stomper, Gus,
Mr. Miyagi,
Scott, ML, Stephen Drakes, man, hitting us with a super chat earlier. That's awesome, dude. Thanks for supporting the show. Great to be joining with us. AB, Andre Silva, Tanner Brown, Slim Reaper. Guys, it's been an amazing time with you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope to see you on Sunday morning for the live lineup show. Johnny, any closing words?
Nope. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, or the bell notification, so you get notified when we go live. And then, and then tune in Monday. Watch party for the Monday Night Football. We have a potential special guest stopping by, so that'll be fun. And we'll be doing a FanDuel lineup. Whisper Nation can also join in on the fun. Hopefully we all win together. That would be even better. But yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, Whisper Nation. I'm Austin Sear. That's Johnny Game Time Hicks. We're the Fantasy Whispers, and we're out.
Peace. Good luck, Whisper Nation.
Good luck.
Right here.
Look at you go. You made it to the end of another one of our videos. Hey, if you still have some questions, I totally understand. Or you just want to join an awesome fantasy football community, head on over to our Discord chat. Link is in the description below. And if you're still not sold on us, check out one of these videos.